Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about miscellaneous card games. Today I've got a very special treat for you all, an interview with three of the big three of the OPE team. Those of you who don't know who OPE are, I assure you do. You have definitely been to one of their events in the last few years. And we're going to be hearing all about them, how they got their start, future plans, and maybe, a tease or two. Maybe we'll see what they can give us. Let's go ahead and get on over to the gang who have been patiently waiting for me to get my tech up and ready. Here they are. I'm not going to steal their thunder. I'll let them introduce themselves. So we'll go around. Let's start with Tommy. Who are you?
Hello, I'm Tommy, the CEO of Organised Play Events. Thank you for having us on.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for coming. Let's go to Adam. Who are you?
Hello, I am Adam. I am the Organised Play Events and Community Manager for Organised Play Events. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Wow. This is the poor man who's responded to all your DMs.
Yes.
And next
Hi.
we've got Carl.
Hi, yeah, I'm Carl Woodwiss. I'm probably the newest member of OPE on this call, and I'm the commercial director for Organised Play Events.
Absolute pleasure to have the three of you on here. So the idea here is, I think, one of the things that players obviously want is tournaments, but I think there isn't actually a massive focus on the people who run those, right? Like on some level, I think there's an assumption. Oh, okay, Bandai tournament, Bandai runs it. Oh, okay, fine. Star Wars Unlimited tournament, FFG runs it. That's not actually how it works, and I think it'd be really useful and interesting to get that insider perspective from the three of you. So I think I guess it's best to start here with Tommy. And maybe you can also give us, I know you said you're CEO, but maybe like a little bit of the sort of day-to-day, what your life looks
Yeah,
like. But also, if you could just give us a little bit of insight in how OPE came to be and why you started out on this whole crazy thing to begin with.
so OPE became to be basically just because of my love for card games and competitiveness in general, and my interest in overall just competitiveness and tournaments, not just mainly from card games, but also from like a esports background as well. Coming into it, so like my background in card games was I was a Pokemon player growing up. I started playing when I was a kid, and then kind of just played all the way through until I was an adult, and then but I also had a just an interest. So playing back in the Pokemon organized play program when it kind of first started, it was very different to what it is today. And I saw a lot of that. Like when I mean we're talking like it's not comparable to what it is today at all. It was kind of like a 32 player tournament would be like a big event back then. So it was a lot different. And then I was involved in that in the very early stages um, when it wasn't quite anywhere near as competitive as it is today. And kind of seeing that grow and being involved with that kind of really grew my interest in all of this and seeing it even back. This is playing back when Pokemon was owned by Wizards, and they were like doing what they were doing with magic events with Pokemon back in the day, and kind of seeing that crossover and like how all of that worked just really interests me. And yeah, it was just kind of like playing back then, having an interest in the game, and then wanting to see it grow. And then I was also quite big when like esports started to get big as well, and then seeing what was going on there, and then being involved with like the start of organized play for Pokemon and for the other games getting bigger, and kind of being like, well, why does TCGs not have this? And it could have this, and seeing the kind of potential that it could grow into. So that's really kind of where my interest in all of this started. And then I was interested in game design as well. That's what I did at university. So after I graduated doing that, I was luckily got a job working for Asmodee, the distributor, who own FFG, the people that make Star Wars. And I ended up in their organized play department. And then that's kind of where it all started. So I was doing a lot, not just events, but understanding organized play from everything from like judge programs to like stuff that people probably don't think about, but like kit distribution to stores, OP sales of like getting stores into organized play, and the event side of it as well. So that's where I kind of got a lot of my knowledge for how this industry works. and then grew it from there. And then off the back of working for Asmodee, I ended up leaving there and starting organized play events. And then that's kind of how it all began.
Oh, that's amazing. It's great to hear that you've had such a sort of long history in the industry, and definitely, in my time being here, basically about 10 years, I've seen a lot of growth. So thinking about what it must have been like back in the sort of the early days.
Oh yeah, I mean,
labs,
it's crazy.
sounds amazing. We'll swiftly then transition to hear a little bit from Adam as to how you ended up getting involved with OPE. I'm assuming you didn't break down Tommy's door and ask him for a job. Something must have happened.
Well, not quite, but you'd like to think it is that way. So I'm quite new in sort of the professional TCG industry, but I've always been interested in it from early ages. I got the Yu-Gi-Oh starter decks for Yu-Gi, Joey, Pegasus, the 1999 stuff. So me and my friends would play Yu-Gi-Oh on the playgrounds and stuff like that. And back then you didn't know the rules. It was just summon big monster and attack. But that kind of transitioned, and I kept playing Yu-Gi-Oh all throughout sort of early high school, late high school. Went to some competitive level events here and there, and then switched into competitive Pokemon much later than Tommy. So I was around for like the 2012 to 2020 sort of circuit, from middle of Black and White era to the end of the Sun and Moon era. And during that time, I also judged at local level events and occasional cities tournaments, which no longer exist. And then from there, I went back to uni, studied teaching. COVID hit, so kind of stuck inside our houses, stuff like that. And then the Digimon card game came out, and I've been into that since day one. And then when organized play events started doing events in the UK for it, I applied to judge. So I met Tommy and the gang back at UK Games Expo in 2022. And then sort of from there, I was a judge for about maybe a year. And then I started stepping into sort of a volunteer organizer role, because it was quite clear that OPE was expanding and I wanted to have something to do with it. And then recently I've been very, very lucky to have turned it into a full-time job, and it's now what I do full-time as well, which is something that's it's brought an immense change and benefit to my quality of life, which I'm really, really happy about as well. And yeah, I'm very still deeply involved in TCGs, and I hope to be for quite a while.
That's great to hear, and yeah, really interesting. More recent route than Tommy. I'm not gonna age Tommy too badly. But moving on to Carl, I can see some interesting stuff in the background there, which makes me suspect maybe it wasn't straight TCGs that got you into gaming. But why don't you give us the lowdown? How did you end up here?
No, you're absolutely right. So yeah, I've been gaming for I'd probably hesitate to suggest I'm the oldest person on the call, but yeah, for quite some time. But my I suppose my pillar, or my first step into gaming, was certainly board games. So I played board games for a huge amount of time. I actually fell into board games by an old job where we'd all finish work at 10 o'clock at night, and there'd be about 7 of us playing Battlestar Galactica for 2 years solid. With all the expansions, the game would take 7 hours. It'd go into the early hours of the morning, and I legitimately thought that was the only game of that type. Imagine my surprise when you fall into the gaming world and all these other board games that I'm not going to move the camera to see how many I've got.
It's too many.
Come to light. It is far too, well. Is it? Is there such a number? It's less than it's
ever too many.
Less than it used to be, I promise.
I can see some white space there, Carl. There's some room for some more.
That's a wall. That's a door. So yeah, I'd be board gaming, and then sort of fell into card gaming more casually than most people. I've never really been the most competitive of card gamer. I've always used games to be that chilled downtime, not really to finish work and then go headfirst into a competitive card game. It's always been as a bit of a wind down moment. But I've known Tommy for quite some time, actually. So Tommy spoke about working with Asmodee. I met Tommy when again through a judge requirement, all the way back when Destiny first started, Star Wars Destiny. So that was probably the first trading card game that I got heavily involved in. I mean, I really went full headfirst into Destiny, and we were doing bits with Tommy probably towards the end, judging, tournament organising around the UK. But I suppose our big jump into trading card games was Keyforge. So we had the opportunity. So me and a couple of friends, a couple of colleagues, we worked with Tommy and Asmodee and went to a lot of the Vault tours, if not pretty much all the Vault tours around Europe, to support with judging and organising and entertaining, to go out and enjoy ourselves afterwards. Obviously, they're big teams that you take around these events, so making sure morale and all that sort of stuff's up as well is probably what we like to suggest we did. But maybe buying the first beer was probably the first thing that we did to keep morale up. But yeah, since then, I mean, grew arms and legs, done more and more tournament organising, judging, running the media side, so the streaming for a lot of the events that go on. I was going to say in person, but obviously digitally now starting to become a thing as well. So yeah, that's sort of my involvement, and it's starting to grow arms and legs, getting more involved with as OPE starting to grow and more requirements and more people are starting to see the value and the good stuff that OPE can do and the professionalism of the events that get run. More people are asking us to do things, and I think this organic growth is now going to start becoming like actual scalable growth to make sure that we can not only do it for one event at a time, but we can mirror it across multiple events at the same time if required. So yeah, really exciting things for OPE for sure.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic to hear. And I think related to that, I know you guys have all sort of talked about OPE expanding and growing and how things have been going over the last few years. And I think something that would be beneficial for people to understand who are watching this is, I think most people are probably coming from the perspective I sort of had, which is, oh, well, I'm a player and maybe I play 1 or 2 card games, maybe 3. I don't really have this like bird's eye view of the TCG landscape that you sort of need to have if you're involved in the industry on a TO sort of level like you guys are. So I think it'd be very useful to just hear how do you see the TCG industry at the moment? You know, what are the big trends? What are the big challenges? What's exciting? What are you excited about? And then
if you're this much involved,
is sitting into it.
It's devastating to your wallet if you've got if you've got to watch these. So we don't have as huge a much in depth view. Oh, I certainly don't. I can't speak for everybody, but my knowledge of every card game is quite shallow. But you do have to have a somewhat like fundamental understanding of each of these games, which means you have to dip your toe in, which means you have to and you know what we're like. We're compulsive people, right? Just one more. Yeah, we'll get into one more, and then you've got to sell out quickly.
Yeah, the TCG industry is really is going through a big boom at the moment since the end of the pandemic. Basically, people have been like, let's get out the house, let's do something, and TCGs are such a great place to do that. You've got TCGs that suit, like, you know, a variety of players. You've got very, very I'm not going to insult people by saying things are simple and easy, but games like Pokemon and Lorcana are on the easier end compared to things like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic and then you've got games like One Piece, Digimon, other games that sort of sit in the middle, and they range from, you know, 16-player locals to 128-player locals, sometimes to thousands of players attending the World Championships, that sort of thing. So at least for me in my role, in my job, I have an awareness of pretty much every major, at least every top 10 TCG at all times. I know what sets are coming out. I know what's happening in organized play, and I know what events are happening and who's hosting them. So we can always, you know, take from those events and see how we can improve and we can do better. And just sort of perfect the art of running events, because if we're doing a good job and the players see that, the players are having a good time, and really it's all about them to make sure that they're having the best tournament experience possible.
Yeah, it's definitely changed dramatically in the last like 3 years with the amount of new games that have come out and how big these games are. I mean, before COVID times, there was a lot of games, and we used to try and work with a lot of different games. Especially when I was working more with FFG, they had a lot of titles themselves, a lot more card game titles back then, but they weren't as big as all these games are now. So, I mean, everybody's aware of the big 3. There used to be quite a lot of focus on that, and then the publishers outside of that it was just kind of separated between the two. Whereas now, no one really knows what the big 3 is. It's kind of changed dramatically, especially from a competitive standpoint. Like even like looking at Magic, it's a lot more commander casual focused than it used to be. A lot more competitive focused, which is changing the industry massively. And obviously, Pokemon's just blown up and gone massive. The same with Bandai as well. Digimon got massive, then One Piece got massive, and now you get seeing Fusion World as well getting quite big. And then we've got Lorcana and Star Wars on top of that. So it's a lot different now, and it's an exciting time to be involved with the industry. It's a lot of work, and it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on because it's moving so quickly. But yeah, it's really exciting.
I think it was really interesting to what you just said there as well. Probably, I can't remember a time when those big three were not being challenged, because that's obviously that's a big jump.
Yeah.
But there's obviously been hundreds and hundreds of card games that will come out, and there'll be a vast majority that come out. You sort of cast your eye to it. Okay, that's an interesting card game, and then you never hear from it again. And it happens, and it's this rolling cycle of trading card games. But there's definitely I suppose, well, it feels like it to me, a stickiness for more of these card games that are coming out because they're more attractive to different markets. So, like you quite rightly said, Adam, about Lorcana, that's not trying to be a complex card game to keep people super stressed at a card game table.
Yeah,
it's designed at that not casual, bordering on casual competitive player, certainly in a collective environment, maybe mirroring what Pokemon does. But it's aimed for a different market, which means it has been sticky. I think if they came out with a Disney card game with the complexity of Android Netrunner, that what a whiff that had been. But they've been like clever of actually identifying what their target market has, which means it's going to stick around. Disney was always going to stick around.
But even then, Lorcana is massive. When you look at the when they've kicked off organized play and they're running the Lorcana challenges, which are happening all over the world, they're hitting 1.5, 2,000 players easily selling out, which is it's almost unheard of for a brand new card game. No, I'd pretty much say it is unheard of for a brand new card game to hit thousands and thousands of players. Not even at world championships. This is
just at local level. Yeah.
This is here's your organized play whilst we're still setting up organized play sort of thing. Once they start doing worlds and proper invites and we don't know if they're going to separate age divisions or anything like that, but if they're running it similar to Pokemon, and because it is a kid-friendly game, I imagine that's on their consideration. And just it's such a massive game, and just because it's less complex than deck search the game, which is Yu-Gi-Oh, doesn't make it any less good.
Me and my 8-year-old daughter play it. I enjoy it that much because again, different market. She thumps me as well. She absolutely leathers me at it.
I think now there's a big change in this, the stigma around card games. It's a lot more, I guess, socially acceptable to play card games than it used to be, even within the nerd space. If you go back 10 years, even gamers didn't necessarily associate themselves with card gamers, but you've not even just physical card games, but also the stuff like Hearthstone and stuff like that came out that kind of got more gamers into card games. And then now we've got to a point where people want to go out and play card games more in person. And now the publishers, I think, have cottoned on to that and are targeting different areas of the market to make card games specifically for those areas. And now you've got all these different card games that are targeting basically anybody who has any kind of interest in card games. There is a card game out there for you at this point, which is really, I think, making the industry kind of blow up as a whole.
And it's just so good for community as well, because I've got friends literally all over the world at this point that all play TCGs. And you know what it's like when you're a working adult, you've not got a lot of time to develop, you can barely see your friends that live 5 minutes away from you sometimes because you're so busy. But when these events, these regionals or world championships or anything like that pop up, not only is it for a game that you do, it's for one of your hobbies, you've got a chance to then link in with all your friends and meet them, and you're not sitting around chatting all weekend. You're going there to play, compete, have fun. You've got stuff to talk about, and it just helps mesh communities all across the world together. One of my favorite things doing is going maybe just once a year to a smaller Pokemon regionals just with all my friends in the UK, and we just have a great time and come back, even though I don't play the game as much anymore.
And I think, as Adam was saying there, you were all sort of touching on really, but community is such an important part of why we play these games. And you can have a fantastic game which the cards look and feel amazing, and it's easy to get the product, and the game is really, 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 really good. the pricing's amazing, and there's all this sort of stuff, but sort of related like on a local level. But really, organized play is what ties it all together. And I think it's a fair statement, at least from a player perspective, to say a game can very much live or die entirely on, does it have a solid OP foundation? And so what I want to ask you guys is what to you is what is the most important part about having like good organized play? What does it mean? Why is it that important? And how are most of the major TCGs handling it? And what do you guys think, if you had to just choose like one thing that you really wanted to like fix, like, okay, this thing isn't working, like, what would you do there? Or equally, if there's something that you think is really good and you want to like shine a spotlight on and think we need to do more of this, what is that? And I'm gonna start with Tommy and we're gonna go around.
Yeah, so I think the big thing, like as being a business that is doing this as a TO, like understanding it from the publisher's perspective is quite big, and like organized play is marketing for the game. So to do it well, it needs to be a good marketing tool, and it needs to appeal to the whole player base of the game. So if you just if you just appeal to the highly competitive players, but you ignore the casual players, then yeah, that might be a great organized play program for those competitive players, but it's not going to market the game well and help the growth of the game. So like in terms of like that's the key, is to make sure that the OP program and the tournament structures appeal to everybody, and they want to get anybody who plays the game. Doesn't matter if you literally just play it like once a week with your friends, or if you're playing it every night, highly competitive. The event needs to tailor to everybody, so it's got something for everyone there. So everyone can have fun, so we can all come and enjoy these events. I think is a very key point, and a lot of them. And understanding the people that play your game as well, because there's like then variables within inside that some games are more competitive than others, and like what Adam was talking about earlier with Lorcana, and then making sure that the organized play program is tailored towards that specific game and what that community wants, but still tailors to the whole range of people that play that game. I think is really important.
Absolutely. Let's hear what Adam has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything that Tommy's saying. And for me as well, it's all about making sure that the community has almost a place to call home. I don't know how to phrase it in another way, but making sure that regardless of how they play the game, they are supported, like Tommy was saying. I think a good example of organized play is what Pokemon do. They've been, one of the first major TCGs, and they've had 25 years, 26 years to go from baby organized play to a Goliath in terms of it. Everyone knows what the Pokemon World Championships are. Everyone in the industry or that plays the game knows where they are. The swag that you can get there sells for thousands and thousands of pounds sometimes. It is the biggest event. But when you go to any sort of Pokemon event, whether it is a casual sort of locals level, you are supported. You get prize packs, play packs that you can only get at a local level. You go a step up into the League Cups. Again, you've got exclusive prizing. You've got exclusive points that you can earn. You then step up again into your regional championships, which again, you've got points to earn an invite towards the World Championships. You've got exclusive swag. You've usually got a Pokemon Center pop-up shop as well. And you've got side events for all ages. You've got pick-a-packs, which take 30 minutes to play. You've got Gym Leader Challenge. You've got so many other side events as well. You step up again into Internats, which is where the big fish really compete. Players like Tord Reklev, for example, they just absolutely thrive in these events where it's pure competitive, and they've still got everything for the casual player that tags along. And then Pokemon World Championships is the exact same. You've got the highly competitive day 1, day 2 top cut, and you've got side events, and you've got pop-ups, and you've got things for kids to do. And from every level, from the bottom all the way to the top, it is fully balanced towards all ages, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think Pokemon, as you say, is the gold standard, right? Like that's what we look at and we go, 25 years, 26 years, they're clearly doing something right. And Tommy mentioned the big three earlier, but really, if you look at it, it's Pokemon and the two others that are still massive.
Yeah.
But Pokemon is really like it's like, you know, Pokemon sells more than like the other two combined. Like it's night and day. So you really got to look to Pokemon to see where the industry's at. Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to probably use my experience. So I'm not Pokemon. You know, I've got a 10-year-old boy. He plays it, but collects it, likes opening packs. I've never been involved in the OP for Pokemon, but there's two bits. One bit that Tommy said and one bit that Adam said. Tommy, you're absolutely right with the whole point that these events are marketing events for these big organizations. That's exactly what they should be. And that's what they are, right? It's promotion for their card games. So when you see an organization that doesn't support its organized play by rewarding people to going to these marketing events, and then questioning why people aren't going to these marketing events, it's a bit catch-22. You know, it's you need to entice people to go to these events and reward them accordingly, not just by saying they've gone to an event and won a tournament, but there's got to be something out of the back of it that's appetizing enough for people to want to go to these events. But then, Adam, you're absolutely right. It's about being exclusive to those events to actually make people think, you know what, I've done well at this event. I've got something special out of it. It's something that I've got that somebody else at my local doesn't have. So it's a merit that they've acquired. I don't know Pokemon, but the best thing that I've seen that more people need to do are prize walls at their events. The Destiny prize walls were fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen anything better on a prize wall than the acrylic leaders that you used to get. The spot gloss acrylic leaders, they were incredible. So I used to go to the events to grind out victory tickets or to be able to get one of those tokens. I just remember it. That was me then really heavily invested in that day because I knew there was a spot gloss Vader at the end of it.
I think just to back that point up a bit, like the great thing about a prize wall system is it encourages people to keep playing throughout the day. And like obviously if you go to a tournament and you go 0-3 and you drop, it's never fun. I mean, it's not the worst, but it's not great. It's not why you're there. But with that prize pool system, if you go 0-3 and you drop, you're instantly encouraged to get back into another event and keep grinding for prize tickets to then get stuff off the prize wall, which from I guess from a marketing and like PR standpoint, like the players don't really, you never kind of left being like, oh, I paid all this money to come to this tournament. I've gone 0-3 and that's it. I'm done.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
like having that, it kind of negates that negative experience that somebody can have by not performing as well as they would have hoped in the main event or whatever event it is.
And the beauty of it as well is
it comes back to the marketing. It's important you don't want people to come to the events and not have fun. So it kind of prevents that, which is important, I think.
Yeah. And you leave and you get to pick the thing that you might be playing in the main event because there's a big expensive fancy card come the end of it, whether you keep it to adore it or sell it because it's expensive, that's totally up to you, right? But on the prize wall, you're playing for the thing you want. That was always my thing, is I don't care about sorry, Chris, but a spot gloss Jar Jar Binks. You know, I'm playing for the spot gloss Vader.
That is unacceptable.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm playing for the Vader, right? And and Keyforge had that as well. You know, it was regardless of what you did in the main event, there was always a playmat or a set of sleeves or something that you wanted to play towards. So yeah, more prize walls.
That's one thing that.
A big thing with the tournaments is just giving the players a feeling of prestige. Really keeps them invested in the games, and like obviously if you do really well in a tournament, you get top 16 or above, you're gonna get that. But like to be able to give that to the players that don't get that high up in the tournaments, or maybe they're not super competitive people in general and they're just coming to have fun, just play the game, but then they can still go home and grind out that one prize that they wanted. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be a prize ball. There are even like the system Bandai does with the side events that they have at the moment where you get the Charlotte pudding. Like you can still drop out of the main event and then try and grind that out and get that. And if you get that, it gives that feeling of prestige, which is something that an organized play program can provide to players and really helps keep them invested into the game for the long term.
Yeah, like Lorcana have really nailed the prizing element right out the gate, because at their challenges they've got the prize wall system in place, and the things that are on the prize wall are not only highly sought after, but they're exclusive to the prize wall. So you can't get them by playing in the main event. You can't get them by going to logos. You can only get them by doing side events at the big Lorcana challenges. I think one of the main ones was like a Cinderella limited edition playmat you could only get by playing in side events. So what they've done, what Ravensburger have done, is they've not only went, here, hey, we want you to play side events. They've went, hey, we want you to play side events. Here's something you can only get by doing that. And everyone has went, well, sign me right up. And it's worked for them so well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, as you said, like, most people who go to these tournaments, you finish on a bell curve, right? Like that's literally how maths works. And you're going to have, you'll have some people in the top 16, you'll have some people in the bottom 16, but most people are in that middle bunch and they're not actually getting that much under a lot of the tournament systems. And as you say, things like a prize will really help fix that, because you can get a number from the main event, drop out. It can be a really, really great time. And so I gather from what you've been saying that you'd hope to see more prize walls, generally speaking, in organized play.
One thing that we try and do at our events, regardless of what game it's for, is just try and allow the players the opportunity to play as much as they want. So we try and run just whatever event we're doing, we always try and make sure that, like, as soon as you're out of the tournament, there is another tournament you can enter, just to keep people playing, because I know a lot of people, some people don't have a local scene, and these tournaments are like one of the only chances they get to play a lot of the game in person against other people. So obviously the prize pool does complement that quite well. But even if we don't have a prize pool at the event, we still try and organize it in a way that allows players to do that. Because I think that's one thing that FFG used to do well, and like even Bandai right now, with the way that they have their side event structure done, we always try and make sure that, again, they can just come out of the main event and go straight into a side event if they want to. And I think that's important as well.
Yeah, so like if you want a little bit of the math sort of behind all the side events, how do we decide when we're going to run
That's
them?
what we were all hoping for. We knew it was going to come. There's that math. Those math enthusiasts are watching. Go on, Adam.
It's basically, when do we think players are going to drop out of the main event because they're not eligible for any additional prizing? So we'll take One Piece, for example, because they've got a lot of sort of main 64 player and above side events. We take a look at the main event. So we typically start at 9 a.m., usually around about 9:30 once you get all the bumps out of the way. You're then looking for players, when are they going to start dropping? If you lose 3 times in One Piece, you're not making top cut. The maximum top cut you can get is 32. And in order to achieve top cut, you need a minimum record of X2, where you've won X amount of games and lost a maximum of 2. So at that point in time, we then go, let's run a side event. So the players that drop can immediately just go straight into a side event. And then we look at X5. X5, again, you need to win X amount of rounds and lose a maximum of 5. That usually knocks you out of consideration for additional prizing, like top 128, top 256, and occasionally top 512, but that's usually around about X7. And we put a side event on there for them there as well. And then we do it again until the event comes to its conclusion around about 5-6 p.m. for Bandai card games at least. Then we look at the day 2. Well, we know that X amount of players are going to be on their top cut, top 8, top 16, top 32. You'll never see a maximum of top 64 normally, unless it's at like a finals event, for example. So we want to put on a big side event for as many people as possible. So we usually do a big 5-12 side event or something like that. And then we might run another one later on, because people in Top Cut didn't get to play in that side event. So we'll run another one a couple of hours later for a smaller amount of people. So those players still, they've sweated the entire weekend. They've come away with top prizing. They still want to play the game. Well, we want to put on a side event for them, and give them a chance to earn even more prizing, and just maybe play the game less competitively, although that very, very rarely tends to happen with big card games.
No, absolutely. And I think that's great to hear from I always I'm actually sort of maybe not I'm not that kind of person. I go for the tournament, and then once I'm out, cool, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, we're gonna go wander around, and we'll talk about the TCG Expo later, because that was something I had a fantastic time at the last one I went to, which is in Liverpool last year. But it's always great because I see it packed out every single time. Like all these people, like side events are constantly firing, and it's great that these players are all catered for at these events. Speaking of which, I think now would be a great time to talk about the upcoming event that you guys are hosting for Star Wars Unlimited. So this is the premiere event that is going to be happening in Manchester, August 31st to September 1st. Don't go there in October; you'll be very disappointed. And if you'd like to say hi to me, I'll be there. But that's my self plug out of the way. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so we got it's the first 2-day Star Wars event in the UK. I think it's the first 2-day Star Wars event in Europe. So we've got day one, we've got a main event with Swiss going into a top cut on the second day, and then we have drafts running out through all of Saturday and all of Sunday. Similar to what Adam was talking about before, if you're out of the main event, you can drop in, start playing drafts, or we've also got the Twin Sun multiplayer format. We've been lucky with this event where Asmodee UK have actually supported us with some additional prizing. So we have some pretty good prizing. If you head over to the OPE Facebook or Discord, you will see links and you can go and check out all the. I won't go through all of it because there's a lot, but if you check it out on there, you'll be able to see all the prizing for the drafts, main event, etc. And yeah, it should. I'm really excited for it. Star Wars really excites me with all the different formats that are possible and stuff, and we're really trying to support that game and help the community grow.
Yeah, we love that game for sure.
100%. You can't get me off it. That's for sure. I think maybe I'm pretty sure this is the biggest Star Wars event in the world so far. Because I think it's a 400 players, right?
It's 384 capacity. Now we haven't sold out yet, so I'm not saying we're going to get 384, but hopefully we do. So yeah, I think that'll be the biggest Star Wars event in the UK. In the world. I don't really know. I know the US. Obviously, the US has got huge communities, so I'm sure maybe there would have been one bigger somewhere, but definitely in the UK, and I'm pretty sure in Europe as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a fantastic time, and I think you sort of touched on there, like all the different things you can look forward to at the event. Why do you think like events of this scale are like a big deal for OPE and also for like the TCG community?
Well, I know, like, if we're talking specifically about Star Wars, like, obviously the game's new. The larger events haven't started up at the moment. So like we've got the regionals and stuff coming next year, I think, at some point. But right now, like developing the competitive meta, I think is extremely important for games like this. Now, obviously, you've got it at a local level, but you don't really get to see like the meta can stagnate unless you have bigger events like this. So to keep the game developing and keeping it interesting, I think these kind of events are really important, and to allow these big decks to come together and see like an actual meta game is extremely important for the development of the game and keeping it interested and keeping players engaged in it. And that's what we're really trying to provide with this event. And we'll have a live stream off the back of it with some great commentators, including Christopher. So we'll again, that's also to help the game develop, and so the people at home can watch the decks, see the deck lists, be like, okay, well, because it can become quite stale, so they can see what's beating what and how they can go from there, and then implement that into local meta, and it just keeps the discussion going on Discord channels and Facebook and whatnot about what's going on, what's good, and that's really what we're trying to provide with this event.
We've also seen what happens post-event as well, right? Is the amount of YouTube videos that go up so quickly by, I suppose, global content creators trying to analyze the meta that's happened at big events. This is it, right? Is that people want to? There's if it's the same deck that have gone like top 8 the same deck, then people will analyze why is it the same deck, and if they're totally different decks, it's a totally different conversation altogether. But the main thing is that conversation's happening, not only for the players, but for the publishers, for the vitality of the game, for it, just keeping it relevant and keeping things happening. Because we all see it, like different countries have different metas, right? We'll have people in Europe where we'll go, that deck won. And then we'll play and we'll have a totally different meta because we're more control centric. And then the US may be more aggro. And, it's just really interesting seeing it. And actually, it was a really interesting one at UK Games Expo where we had 3 days worth of tournaments, and across each one of those 3 days, they were dominated by different decks. Like day 1, you didn't see a Sabine all day; it was all control. Day 2 was all Bobby Yellow, and day 3 was all aggro. It was really strange. But having the opportunity to be able to analyze that is what these events are for, right?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and for players as well, it kind of lets them know where they stand with organized play. If all you've got is a world championship, say Star Wars launched and we didn't do any events like this, we weren't supported, we didn't do anything, and then you've got the first world championships, you'll have players that are going into that. They have no idea what to expect. They don't know. They've never went to a professional event before. They just know that they love the game, but they don't really know what they're doing. So maybe they get a judge call, something goes wrong. They're not too great with tournament etiquette yet, because I mean, the rule books say that every player should read the tournament rules manual, but I can barely get judges to do that sometimes, let alone players. And it's not their fault that they don't do that, because most of the time they don't know these documents even exist, because it's hidden away on the organizer side of the website as opposed to being player visible. So what these events do is allow these players to come to our tournaments, which, yes, they're competitive, but they're also forgiving. If someone's a new player and something goes wrong, we want to help fix that game state. We don't want to, issue a penalty that results in the game ending. We want to say, this isn't the right way. This is how you do it. You can keep playing from here. And it just lets them experience competitive play in a safe and a welcoming and a friendly environment, because I think that's one of the biggest compliments that I can give to OPE, and yes, they are literally paying me to say this, is that we're such a friendly TO. Like, I have countless players just come up and chat to you. You don't see that at a lot of other events. Like, players and judges and TOs, they're separate. But something I've noticed that a lot of our events, where I've been to other events in Europe and I've not seen the same thing, is that people just come and talk to you because they know that we're approachable. And if they've got issues, they come and ask and we fix it for them, or we help them fix the problem as well. And it creates this really, really welcoming, good atmosphere for players to come to, so that when they go to the World Championships, when they do all these big, proper competitive level events, they're ready to go. And not only that, when their opponent says to them, well, how do you know so much about this? They say, well, I've been to OPE's events and they gave me a rundown of how to do everything. So it's promotion for us, and it's safety and community for the players.
Absolutely. I think that's some really, really valuable insight there, and understanding why this is so important, because I think a lot of that doesn't really get said, but it is so key. And I guess sort of transitioning on to your own world, your own unique project you've been working on over the last few years, which I think is an absolutely fantastic thing as a massive TCG nerd myself, and that is the TCG Expo. So I had the pleasure of going last year to the TCG Expo in Liverpool, which was a fantastic time. And I demoed Star Wars Unlimited there. And I think we all know what that has done to my bank account. So thanks very much for that. I just love to hear what is for you guys, like why are you doing a TCG Expo, right? We'll start there. Isn't it enough that you do all these big tournaments for individual games? What are your visions? What's your goal? What are you planning on doing in the future?
Well, it really started off. So, as well as being a player, I'm also a collector as well, and I've been collecting Pokemon for a long time. Quite heavily invested in that as well. So I saw there was a lot of card shows popping up all over the UK. There's a lot now. There's quite a lot of getting a bit more established ones, and they're popping up everywhere. And I was like, well, if this is now becoming a thing, and also with the amount of new TCGs that are getting released and how the playing area was also kind of blowing up. Like, could we take the two concepts and kind of merge them together? So we wanted to, because I think there's two sides to like the customer base of a trading card game. There's the players and then there's the collectors, and they don't really cross over much. And I kind of saw a way. I was like, these two communities can be brought together, and if we can bring an event that kind of attracts both of them, where we have tournaments for all these different games, and obviously with the amount of games, a lot of people play multiple games, so we're allowing them to participate in all these different games, but also try and get the collectors and the stores the local stores as well that also support these games a lot involved by having loads of vendors, because loads of vendors and loads of different games. So a store can not just come and sell one game; they can sell everything that they sell in their shop at one expo and play. And if you collect Pokemon, Magic, One Piece, whatever, you can come and there'll be vendors there with everything, and you can sell your cards to these vendors as well. So we're trying to appeal to the whole TCG market, not just the players but also the collectors as well. Is really the thought behind it.
And what are your? Because I thought it went very very well last year. As I said, I had a really really great time. What are you? As I recall, it was about 1,500 people or so at the last one, and pretty big. Are you planning on going bigger? Are you planning on adding more games? Are you planning on changing up the games that you're going to be having? Are you doing it this year?
So it's all, to be honest, we've got a very busy schedule between now and the end of the year. So we're still very much in the planning stages for the next one and trying to work out exactly where we're going to focus it all on. Obviously, we want to have as many games there as possible. That's kind of the point, is to support as many different games as we can, and also looking at tournament formats that support that the best. Now, obviously, the bigger games we might have a bit more focus on, but that doesn't mean that we aren't interested in having some of the smaller games as well, like some games that we've not even mentioned in this chat. There's a lot of quite small like Kickstarter style TCGs that are available as well, and we want to include them. And not just tournaments but also demos. So like you mentioned, you got to learn Star Wars Unlimited, but you could get to learn all these different games. And I think it's just healthy for TCGs in general, because these, you don't just play one, you kind of dabble in all the games, at least a little bit, all the ones that interest you. So we want to kind of create an event that helps that and allows people to try new TCGs or see stuff that they've not seen before.
Well, that is sounding absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing any more info as and when it comes out. I understand you guys are pretty busy, and there's a lot of very very large events you guys are doing, including I saw two. So that's going to be really exciting. I have taken up a lot of your time, and I'm very very grateful. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel and telling us about the insider experience, what it's like to be a TO. I'm going to leave you and ask one final three-part question, which is going to go to all three of you. And here are the three questions. Firstly, which is your personal favorite game that OPE hosts events for? Secondly, what is the, in your opinion, the most important part of making a tournament successful? And thirdly, what is your favorite part of hosting an event? So we'll go in reverse order. We'll start with Carl.
Oh wow! So my game that I'm more heavily invested in is Star Wars. Star Wars Unlimited is the game that I'm really throwing everything at the minute. Look at that! I knew it. We all knew. I had to be somebody's favorite. There's one person out there, and I'm glad it's you, Krishiv. Yeah, no, Lorcana's very, very close second. I've got a family. The kids both love playing Lorcana, but for me personally, Star Wars Unlimited is where I'm invested. What's most important for people when it comes to running a tournament, that people are leaving happy. They've enjoyed themselves, regardless of venue cost, incident, reward, remuneration, cost of ticket, all this other stuff that fundamentally is the bedrock that allows the tournament to happen. The sole objective here are people leaving the tournament hall and they have had a good time. They're happy. They're ecstatic with what's been delivered. Very closely, obviously, followed by the company that's hired us to do the event are happy with the event, because that entitles us to do it a second time and keep on carrying on. But fundamentally, yeah, players being happy. Third part, I waffle on the first two, so I forgot the third part. Sorry, Krishiv.
Favorite part of hosting events?
Favorite part of hosting events. So for me, I'm again self-indulgent. I run the stream at most of the events. I don't get to really engage with the stream. I'm sort of dealing with the technical back end. For me, over the years, seeing how that's evolved, it was a camera on a boom arm when we first started doing it with Keyforge. I think now we're super proud about the ability that we have to be able to present the card games for people that can't be there at the tournament. For the the ease of use. We'll be comparable to a lot of people's streams that aren't running £10,000 rigs, and we really do. And I need to stress this point. We labour over getting it right. It's something we've got a lot of pride in. So sometimes when there's things like technical issues or internet blips or something like that, it kills us inside because we are super proud about the stream and the media outside of the event that we provide over the internet.
Amazing. Thanks very much. Adam, what about you?
So my favorite card game is Digimon. Playing no Jar Jars here.
There's no Jar Jar in Digimon. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Purely digital monsters all the way forward. It's the game that I've been playing since like end of COVID. It's brought me a lot of community, a lot of fun. It's what got me started with OP as well. So there's a lot of nostalgia there, and it's just such a fun sort of game to play. The main resource mechanic is basically a tug of war. So if you want to do things, you risk your opponent being able to come back, and it's just a constant back and forth till someone wins, and I really enjoy it. And I'm super thrilled that Tommy finally let me off the leash. So we've got Glasgow Digimon Regionals coming up very soon. So I don't need to get out of my bed for a change, and I can just drive up to the venue. I don't need to drive hundreds of miles to come down to England. So I'm really happy for that. And the Glasgow Digimon community is fairly sizable, and they're all really appreciative as well, it's something that makes me really, really happy. When it comes to, the most important thing for hosting a tournament, I think Carl absolutely nailed it. It's about player experience. My number one rule is, are the players having fun? If they're having fun, yes, there's issues. Yes, things go wrong. You're never going to find an event that goes 1,000% smoothly. And you'll often find that behind the scenes of a great event is Tournament HQ slowly collapsing in on itself. But as long as the players don't see that, it's totally fine. And then they leave happy, which then spreads a good reputation for us, and it makes the game publishers more likely to come back to us again. So yeah, Caro absolutely nailed that one. And for me, the favorite part of hosting events is the people, whether it's the players themselves that come up and say hi, the players from Greece, from America, from Australia, even, they come up, say hi, and you get to know them, you get to be interested in them and about their lives. And especially for me, it's about the judges and the staff, because I'm in charge of staff selection and judge recruitment for the most part. So I get to interact with so many interesting individuals. Like, judges I've hired in the past, some are animators for massive films. Like what was the film that came out? Wreck-It Ralph 2. The guy was the key animator on it, and he was also just a judge. I've met opera singers, I've met electricians, I've met literally everyone across the spectrum of jobs, and it brings them all together, and you get to see everyone just meshing together as one sort of big functional unit to deliver a great event for players. And as long as the judges leave happy, then I'm happy as well.
Awesome. And Tommy?
Yeah, so in terms of my favorite TCG to play, I guess give a little bit of a political answer and say I love all of them.
But, get off the fence, man.
Like, to be honest, mostly, I mean, if I was to say my favorite, it'd be the Pokemon format between 2008 and like 2013. That's when I probably had the most fun playing TCGs myself in tournaments.
Good specific.
But like right now, the games that I play the most, I probably play the most One Piece more so than anything else. But it's usually whatever tournament we have coming up, I kind of lean into playing that game because I don't get a chance to play at a local level very much anymore. So it's usually like when I get to see the judges of the events, or like on the run up to the event, I'll build a deck for whatever game it is and play a little bit of that. But so that's mainly One Piece and then a bit of Star Wars. We were playing a bit of Fusion World Sealed recently, which I do quite like Fusion World as well, actually. But I just find them.
You did pull a £900 card as well, so that definitely
helps. That helps.
I mean that James pulled it technically, but yep. But yeah, I enjoy. To be honest, I enjoy limited and sealed formats the most. Like I play, if I'm to sit down and just play, I still play a bit of Arena. Magic Draft, I think Magic is a very good game. I actually think Magic's a little bit underrated at the moment as a game. It's very good. There's so many new TCGs, but it's still kind of the GOAT, I feel, a little bit, in terms of just the game design. It's so solid of that game. Obviously, it's got its flaws, but it's a very old game. But yeah, it's extremely good Magic.
It's got otters now as well.
Yeah.
Love otters. That's it. I'll bring me back in.
Yeah. Yeah, so with what Carl and Adam said about with hosting a tournament, I share the same view really. Really, I just want to see the whole industry grow as a whole, and just the tournament seems to get bigger and better. I kind of have a dream to see like one day they'll be playing in stadiums, and if we can get to that level, similar to what I was saying at the start of the call with like where esports got to. And I kind of see like TCGs now starting to enter a similar kind of projection as to where it's going. It's cool to see, because even in like what Pokemon have done with like some of the top players now becoming like personalities and making storylines out of players and stuff like that. And to kind of see that happening, I see that a little bit in One Piece as well at the moment. Like the top players are quite recognized, and you're getting these storylines. And seeing like stuff like that develop over the tournaments that we're doing, like to me, it's kind of that makes me happy, and that's kind of like the way that I want to see things go personally. So that's really cool to seeing it going that way, which is awesome. And yeah, I guess that kind of feeds into what I enjoy, like why I enjoy doing this so much. It's something that I've been involved with for a very long time. While it's also my job, it's also quite personal to me. So yeah, it's just cool to see it all coming together and progressing so well.
I couldn't agree more. One of my first tournaments I ever played in was in a drained out swimming pool in a school.
Wow.
And I think it's going to be amazing, because I completely agree with you, and I love the idea that within my lifetime we'll go from renting out a school swimming pool and playing in the drained out remains to
That's an interesting venue.
Literally like sold out stadiums. I can't wait. Thank you so much to all three of you, Tommy, Adam, and Carl, for coming on and talking about your experiences with OPE, all about OPE, your upcoming tournaments, TCG Expo, everything that's coming, everything about the industry. I hope you guys all found this video interesting. If you would like to attend any of OPE's events, I'm going to put a link in the description. The link is going to be to the upcoming event in Manchester at the AJ Bell Stadium. So you can check that out, grab your tickets, come say hello. If you can't make that event, keep an eye on OPE socials. I'll do the whole thing where it's all down there and you can find all their stuff. Or you can, of course, personally DM Adam and he'll tell you everything you need to know.
Let me just check. How many message requests do I have on Discord? 22. 22.
Oh, that's not too bad. You really should have gone with a higher number, because that is like
yeah, that's child's play. That's easy.
That's after I cleared them one day ago.
Oh, okay. There we go. This man's on holiday, by the way. Yeah. Thank you, of course, to my wonderful guests for coming on and being such interesting people. Thank you to all of you for watching, and I hope you guys found the video useful, enjoyable. Like it, subscribe if you did. Check out all the links in the description. Check out OPE, and that's enough shilling for the end of this video. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.